So now your site's sort of set up and it's time to dig in and start writing. And as we do that, know that being sort of set up is fine. Your site's never going to be done. It's never going to be perfect. And so you'll always be tweaking the look of things and the navigation and all that stuff. So no worries on making that perfect. Let's just get to where we can start publishing. I think you should be at a good enough point now to at least start going. So we'll head over to posts where all the blog posts live and dig in here. The first thing you'll see is a list of all the posts, which consists of one called Hello World that comes by default with WordPress. We'll just trash that. Any post in here could be indexed by Google, and kind of like the other Hello World for the page, this wouldn't hurt if it was seen, but it would just kind of look sloppy. So let's delete that. So now let's go in and add a new post. You should click this button a lot in the coming months. So we'll add a new post called, the iPhone 13. The content of your blog certainly is up to you, but we'll just make one here. The iPhone 13 is coming soon, and it'll be great. Okay. Hopefully you have a lot more text than that in your post. We'll get into some more stuff in there, but there we go. There's the start of a post. And really, I do this even if I have a small idea for a post. I'll come in here, just create one, and save it as a draft. You don't have to publish it for the world right away. You can save it as a draft, and I generally have a variety of drafts going at any one time. Once we've saved it as a draft, over on the right here, you see some things. You have block and post. So these pieces going down the page are blocks. You can have pictures, images, chunks of text. And so this is dealing with the block, the font size of the block, the color of the block. If you have a drop cap on the block, whatever's going on there. Post is kind of a general tab for the entire post all at once. And so a few things in here. Now that we've saved it as a draft, we can adjust that permalink. We talked about that before when we made the permalinks look nicer. So it'll be bloggingcourse.us/the-iPhone-13. So maybe I want to make it just iPhone to look a little nicer. So that'll be the address there, /iPhone. Okay, cool. Let's save that. Make sure we don't lose it. Going down the side here, we also have, the categories. And this is a problem. We don't have the one category. It's called uncategorized. So let's fix that. So always click that save draft just to make sure we're good. And we'll click the WordPress logo in the corner here to get out and go into categories under posts. And here's all the categories. So we'll add some new categories. We'll add one for tech. We'll add one for news. We'll add one for people, whatever we want to do. You'll notice as I'm adding these, they all have the box next to them and the ability to delete except for uncategorized, because that's a default one. If you forget to check a box when you're writing a post, it's going to go to the default, which right now is uncategorized. So we don't want that. So let's edit that. So if we forget, it'll at least look better than uncategorized. So I like to make them called general or something to that degree. And so the name of the category and then that slug, again, what goes in the address. You want to match that up pretty close usually. So we'll update that. So now if we forget to give a proper category, it'll at least look like we didn't totally forget. And maybe people think we put it in general on purpose. So we'll go back to our posts. And you'll see now we do have the one post in here. It's a draft for iPhone 13. So let's go back in and let's go ahead and update that category now, because it doesn't need to be general. It's going to be tech. And it could be more than one. It doesn't have to be one category. Ultimately, there's a lot of discussion on how many categories you should have. I would say 6 to 10 is kind of ideal, but I know very successful blogs that have 3 and successful blogs that have 100. So it's really up to you. But for me, I treat categories as kind of broad strokes on what the post is about, like tech. And then if you want to use tags, which I tend not to, but some people do, again, it's whatever you want to do. In my case, I use tags for nouns in the post, any person, place, or thing mentioned. So I might make tags for iPhone and iPhone 13, something like that. The idea is not, Google doesn't care about these tags, so don't try to stuff keywords in there. But if you use tags in your sidebar, or depending on how the theme uses it, someone should be able to click on that tag and see all the posts related to that. So if someone saw the tag iPhone, they could click on it and see all your other posts about iPhone, which would be useful for your visitor. So always keep that in mind if you use tags. We're going to skip the rest of this for now and come back to some of that. Down at the bottom here, we have the SEO settings because of SEO Press. We talked about that earlier. So you can see the title that will show up in Google. Now, the title of your post is going to be the iPhone 13, unless you change it. But in Google, the title will be the iPhone 13 blogging course. So it's the title of the post the title of your blog. If you want to change that, how it shows up in the search results, you can kind of see an example to the side here. You could do that. You can say, why the iPhone 13 will be great. Now you see in the search results, it should look like that, given some time with Google to index it. Then the other piece you can add is a meta description. And so this does not affect your rankings at all, but it's what shows up under your link in search results. And by default, it'll pull the first sentence or two and stick it in there, which could be fine, but it's often better to write a more clear statement about what the post is about rather than a snippet from the post. So you could say a good explanation of the various features coming to the new iPhone. So that way people in the search results could see that, oh, that's what this post is, and hopefully be inclined to click. There's more to it than that, but this is kind of the basics of what you need. Don't spend a whole lot of time here. This is pretty minor stuff versus this is where you need to spend a lot of time writing a great post in here and getting stuff done. So we'll save our draft, keep that stuff in there. We don't want to publish quite yet. We'll go back out here. We'll add another new post called the Pixel 6. We're going to do iPhone, we'll do it for Pixel. The Pixel 6 will be better than the iPhone 13 in some ways and worse in others. Okay, so again, we'll kind of work out a full post from there, but that kind of gets you started. And again, I encourage you to go nuts in here, adding a lot of stuff. So for this post, the category, again, we'll put this in tech, and we can work on some other stuff. So we'll save our draft here. So let's go back now, and now we have two posts in here. And this is where things can quickly start getting kind of messy. So what I like to do, again, we installed that calendar plugin. So this is where I can look at the calendar, and on the top right here, it says Show Unscheduled Posts, or Show Unscheduled Drafts. Their tip doesn't match it. This shows a list of all the ones you've not scheduled. So, okay, cool. I want to do the iPhone post. I'm going to probably put that on a New Year's Eve, and then I'll do the Pixel one the next day on New Year's Day. So I can start laying them out this way just to see how I want them to go. The way it's set up now, they're still just drafts. They're not going to publish that day, but they could if I wanted. So let's go back and say, all right, the iPhone one, I want to just go ahead and have it publish on New Year's Eve for me automatically. So you can see it moved the date in here to December 31st. The time is still just the time I had written it at. So I can click that and say, I want it to go out at 8 o'clock in the morning automatically. So 8 a.m. on December 31st. And then you can choose in here, you can see if it's public or private or what else is going on there. But then up here, we can schedule. Instead of just saving it, always good to save a draft. Because it's in the past, or in the future, excuse me, this is scheduled. Normally that would say publish. If we change this to a date in the past, that becomes publish because it's already happened, so it publishes now. If we have a date in the future, so again, 8 a.m. on 31st, we'll say schedule. And it's going to say, you sure it's going to be public? And it's going to go out then. You say, yep, go ahead and schedule it. And that's all set. So that's going to automatically publish now on New Year's Eve at 8 a.m. So again, if I go back to the calendar, I can see in here, iPhone 13 is ready, and this Pixel 6 is still just a draft. So for me, I like to leave them as drafts so I can go in the morning of, kind of give it one more read through, make sure it's good, maybe link to something else that I've written recently, but this could work very well for you. So that's a quick look at how to put posts together and schedule them out, and the next few will dig in deeper in a little bit of some of the post content and how to add things.